In the Catholic Church, there are a number of established communities of men and women in which the sacraments are celebrated in the traditional or extraordinary form, and they are communities in full communion with Rome. One being the Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest. The Institute celebrates the traditional Latin Mass, and the priests live according to the spirituality of St. Francis de Sales. It received canonical recognition in 1990 and today has an international presence, including in more than 12 U.S. states. The Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter, or FSSP, is another prominent society offering the traditional Latin Mass, or TLM. It was founded in 1988 by priests who broke away from the SSPX after that order's founder defied the Holy See. The Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter is active in 39 dioceses in the U.S., in addition to having a global presence. And just last week, Bishop Michael Burbidge of Arlington, Virginia, approved a new chaplaincy to serve local Catholics who attend pre-Vatican II traditional Latin Mass. Called the Chaplaincy of Our Lady of Victory. It will be led by 2 priests from the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter. It will serve the needs of Catholics who attend Mass and receive sacraments in the extraordinary form. The chaplaincy does not add an additional location for the TLM in the diocese, but formalizes an arrangement that had already been in place unofficially for some time. And joining us now is Bishop James Conley from the Diocese of Lincoln, Nebraska. The diocese is home to the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter's Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary for the FSSP's North American District. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us. As we just mentioned, the FSSP does have a significant presence in your diocese. In addition to the seminary there, they also serve at a local parish, I believe. Tell us, what does the Priestly Fraternity offer to the faithful in your diocese, and how has your ongoing relationship with the FSSP deepened your own understanding of the traditional liturgical movement within the Church?
Sure. Yeah, the FSSP came to our diocese under my predecessor's tenure over 25 years ago and established their North American Seminary. And they also established about the same time a parish in the city of Lincoln, which is solely for the traditional Mass. And so we've always enjoyed a very good relationship with the fraternity. For instance, we have our own college seminary, St. Gregory the Great, where we have seminarians from 8 to 10 different dioceses in the area. And our seminarians and their seminarians engage in soccer and basketball. We go over there for their feast day on Our Lady of Guadalupe and have a great Mexican feast day because they have a lot of Mexican seminarians because they're the North American Seminary. And they come over to our seminary for our feast day. And then we also have joint efforts like, for instance, pro-life marches and things like that. So there's been a great harmony and sort of like I like to say, kind of a cross-pollination of those who prefer the traditional Mass or those who prefer the ordinary Mass. There's not any tension between the two.
And the FSSP was started by priests who left SSPX after that order's founder defied the Holy See. Now, Your Excellency, we are just days away from SSPX's planned ordination of bishops without papal approval, which will result in a schism, according to the Vatican itself. What's your reaction to this news development and where things have ended up right now with the SSPX?
It's very sad because in the history of the Church, whenever there is an ordination of a bishop without a papal mandate, it always causes schism. It always causes a break, a division. And it's very sad because I know Pope Benedict worked very hard. He was the one that lifted the excommunication in 2009 as a gesture of openness and willing to talk. And then there seemed to have been a lot of dialogue going back and forth, but then now, as I understand it, they've decided to go forward with these ordinations. So it's anytime there's division in the Church, and an act like this clearly breaks the apostolic link to Peter, really. And it's so clear that, and they know this, canon law teaches this, that throughout history, it always causes schism and division.
And there are many Catholics who are sympathetic to the Society of St. Pius X because of their celebration of the traditional Latin Mass. Cardinal Gerhard Müller, who previously served as the prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, had this to say to any Catholics who are still considering attending Mass at an SSPX church. Let's take a listen.
They shouldn't go and cannot go participate in the masses of the schismatic priests.
You cannot go. A clear and direct statement from His Eminence right there. Your Excellency, what guidance do you want to offer a Catholic who is drawn to the TLM and still considering attending an SSPX Mass at this point?
Well, I would agree with His Eminence. You just can't go. And, there is a resurgence of interest in all things traditional, especially among young people. I see it in my own diocese. They want reverence, they want transcendence, they want beauty in the liturgy. And, thanks be to God, we have not only the Fraternity of St. Peter, but I have a couple of priests who celebrate, with permission of the Holy See, a Sunday Mass in the extraordinary form. Mm-hmm. And as it's interesting, the Fraternity of St. Peter's Seminary is full every year, 90 seminarians. So it's my hope that as they continue to ordain priests, they're going to be ordaining priests here next year again, as they do every day, so ordain 12, that they will go out and they'll be able to, like the story with Arlington, they'll be able to meet the needs of the people who desire this form of the Mass. And I think that's really what the end goal should be. And people should not be forced or have to feel like they have to go to a Mass which is celebrated by a community or a priest that's broken with Peter.
I thank you for highlighting that and just letting people be aware that these communities do exist. Your Excellency, it's been almost 5 years since Traditionis Custodes was promulgated and restrictions on the celebration of the Mass in Latin were imposed worldwide. For Catholics who feel especially affected and upset by that, what is the line for having legitimate concerns about liturgy while maintaining obedience to the Holy Father and not going down a path of separation from ecclesial authority? Can you talk about that?
Well, again, I think it goes back to a desire for more reverence in the liturgy. I'm a member of the board of directors for the Institute of Pope Benedict XVI for Sacred Liturgy. So I believe that we're seeing a trend turning more traditional, even in the Novus Ordo. And I think this is a good thing. And I think, especially, like I said, young people are desiring more reverent, more transcendent Mass. And I think that those are going to be more and more available. So for those who are, let's say, looking for something, I just say be patient. Find a church that's nearby you can go to from a Fraternity of St. Peter parish, or your own diocesan priest. I know these younger priests that are being ordained are already learning different forms of the Mass. So I think there's a lot of hope. Yeah. So don't give up and don't jump ship.
That's a great message. And Your Excellency, you are an adult convert to the Catholic faith, a really beautiful faith journey that's led to you being elevated a bishop in the church. Do you mind reflecting, what role did the Mass and the liturgy play in your own conversion experience and in your relationship with Christ?
It was huge. One of my first experiences as a young Catholic, I'd only been a Catholic for less than a year. I visited the Benedictine monastery of Fontainebleau in France, which at the time, interestingly, were celebrating the Novus Ordo, but it was in the beautiful tradition of the Benedictine Salem congregation. And I was just blown away by the beauty, the Gregorian chant, the transcendence. It was otherworldly. It was like the cosmic liturgy. And that was my first year as a Catholic. And when the indult came out to say the Old Mass, I was one of the first ones to get the indult in 1988. And so I've been celebrating the traditional Mass most of my priesthood. And now that I'm in Lincoln, I have more occasion to do it, because we have Carmelites who have the extraordinary form, and of course the Fraternity Seminary. I do some of their ordinations, and I also do confirmations at St. Francis, which is the Fraternity parish. So it's played a huge part, and it's actually helped me to celebrate the Novus Order, which by and large, the ordinary form, 95% of the time I'm celebrating that. It's helped me to understand its roots, where it came from, but also the gestures and the importance of reverence, every gesture, every moment that you're in the Mass. So it's helped me celebrate the Mass, the ordinary form, in a better way.
That is beautiful. We're grateful for your own faith witness and for joining us this week, Bishop Conley. Thank you so much.
Thank you.